Welcome to the FSB York and North Yorkshire podcast. All roads lead to business support and, of course, to York and North Yorkshire. Welcome to the York and North Yorkshire FSB podcast series supported by City of York Council's Economic Growth team. We know that many small businesses and the self-employed are on an ever-twisting, unnerving and uncomfortable road, and we're here to smooth out those bumps and turns with expert advice, insight and inspiration. The FSB are experts in business since 1974 and are the UK's #1 support organisation for the self-employed and small business owners. Let us help you achieve your ambitions. To talk to us about membership, go to www.fsb.org.uk/join us, and for more information about support from City of York Council's Economic Growth Managers, go to www.york.gov.uk. Today I'm speaking with Victoria Robertshaw, founder of Delicious Planet. Victoria, with her brother James, helped grow the family business Keelam Farm Shop from £2 million to £21 million turnover, serving 1 million customers a year. And she now helps other retail businesses develop their growth sustainably as a consultant. She has won multiple awards with the businesses and was also personally awarded NatWest Every Woman of the Year. And she's a member of the Retail Sector Council, focused on making retail more circular. The Green Street website and its project in Bradford is a pilot for helping thousands of retailers across the UK become greener quickly. Welcome, Victoria. Thanks so much for joining us today. Can you tell me a little bit about you and Delicious Planet and a little bit more about how you can help small businesses on our high streets? The Green Street pilot in Bradford sounds really interesting, but that's just one part of your current work.
Yes, Green Street's sort of one part, but probably the one that's taken up the most amount of time at the moment. It's, a really important thing that we're doing that's come from the Retail Sector Council. And I was asked to lead a project there, sort of looking at how we could help retail become more circular. And from that, through all the research and working with different people, we said, actually, it's the small businesses that need more support. The larger companies, they've got their sustainability managers, they've got their brands to protect. They were kind of focusing on it. But the smaller businesses, and, having run a small business myself, there's only so many things you can juggle and do. And I think it was a thing where what was out there for businesses was very sort of academically written. It was quite jargony. And, even as a person who'd helped build and grow a sustainable business, I was constantly Googling. And I was thinking, right, we've got to make this easier and simpler for businesses to do this. And that's when Green Street came about.
And how can businesses in York and North Yorkshire best access your help? You've got plans here, or do you have resources available for them?
Well, what we did first, we got a website up and running, but not just a website just full of stuff. But what we did is retailers are great at curation. So we curated some really good actions that businesses could get on and start doing. And we made it jargon free. So we didn't talk about scope 1, 2 emissions, net zero. We said just really simple ways that you could, start to make, reduce your energy costs, communicate with your customers and things. So that's there, that's up and running. We've then been doing some work in Bradford, where we've been working really closely with 25 businesses from the city centre and understanding their challenges, what's stopping them, what do they need to know more of, so we can be really kind of doing research where we can keep the website kind of updated, understand those challenges, and then talk back to government and other key players about how we can help remove the blockers.
It's brilliant work that you're doing there, and I think these barriers that you're mentioning are what we hear from our members as well at FSB. And I noticed your website for Green Street has a jargon buster on it, which is really helpful for small businesses who want to cut their carbon but don't really know where to start, or they'd like to understand more about how to become sustainable. Why do you think it does seem so complicated to small businesses, and what stops them from taking those first steps? Is it just the language, or is it more complex than that?
I think it is a little bit more complex. I think the language and understanding is one thing. And one of the things that the businesses say who we're working with, they say, you speak like us, we understand you. So that's very important. I think that's kind of missed. I think the other thing is the fear of doing the wrong thing, because actually there's a lot of conflicting advice out there. So what do you start? What's the right thing to do? Should you be recycling? Which waste company? What packaging? Massive thing. So I think what we wanted to do is really understand those questions businesses are asking, help them answer them, so they can just get going. And they just want to know the right thing. Basically, tell us what it is, and we'll get going. I think what's really important as well with small businesses is what we found, and I kind of know, is they're doing some brilliant stuff, but they don't communicate it to their customers. And I think larger businesses and the nationals are so brilliant at communicating the smallest things. They turn it into a press release, whereas smaller businesses don't. And we found some absolute gems of things small businesses are doing. And so we've been doing some like social media training and stuff, sort of saying, actually, shout about this, tell your customers about it. And one of the things we've been trialling with Green Street is giving them some accreditation. So on the outside of their shop windows, it'll say, working towards a greener Bradford, planet-friendly shopping kind of thing. And then customers can start to identify those businesses that are doing the right thing and start to shop with them.
I think that's key, isn't it? Getting that message across to customers, because we know that customers are looking for businesses who are doing the right thing, as you say. So communicating it is part of the battle for small businesses. What transformation do you see from the business owners who join your community and who embrace these circular economy principles? I guess I'm thinking, how can high street businesses become more sustainable and more profitable? Because in the current climate, how can businesses benefit from that greater sustainability? It doesn't need to be a big investment, I guess.
No, it doesn't necessarily. And people get scared off by 30, 40 grand on solar panels or heat pumps with and it's not, I think it's the basics actually. And with the pilot in Bradford, we were sort of approaching this from, we're going to be focusing a lot more on the circular solutions, further down the line. And the energy bit would kind of been sorted, but it hasn't. It really hasn't. And I think a lot of the effort and government spend's been put into households and not necessarily into businesses and smaller businesses. So if you take our pilot, for example, only 25% of businesses that had all LED lighting.
Wow.
Yes.
Whereas households is a much higher percentage. So households are embracing green technologies at a quicker rate.
I think larger companies as well. And I think with these smaller businesses, sometimes they didn't know, but even if they did, and you're not talking huge investments, you could be talking a few £100s. Actually, when you think what hospitality and retail's gone through on the high streets from, the COVID, the uncertainty over Brexit, savings have gone. And even a few £100s and investing in something that's longer term, because actually putting those LEDs, you kind of saying, we're going to be here for a few years to reap the benefits, is still a big ask of companies. So I think for me, there's a lot of the sort of that basic thing, insulation. It was really good yesterday. I was actually up at the pilot, seeing how things were going, and one of the businesses hadn't got insulation in the roof, but when they'd had their review, because we do an opportunity review with them, see things we could do, there was loads of insulation that hadn't been rolled out, and they were doing it. So actually, there's lots of, on the energy saving stuff, there's lots of, turning equipment off overnight, smart meters. Only a quarter of businesses have smart meters, and then when they get them, they're not using them. But actually, that shows up some really, leaving on equipment overnight, energy being used by neighbours because something hasn't gone quite right where it should. So, there's lots of quick fixes around energy. But your customers don't see energy, which is the interesting one. So if you take retail, typically 25% of carbon will come from how you run your business, but 75% from what you sell. So, and we did some research, and if you think what's important to businesses in terms of, you say what's important to the environment, what you're doing, it's different to what customers kind of say is important to them. So for businesses, you've kind of got to be mindful of what your customers want and deliver that at the same time as making sure you're doing your energy and your resource efficiency, because that keeps you up and running and trading.
It's like that back office of keeping your accountant happy, but also concentrating on your customers. So I think small businesses are used to juggling that, but they're perhaps just not taking those steps. We know there's a real will within small businesses to become more sustainable. What's really your top advice to businesses on our high streets who are inspired by that diagnostic, how to take those very first steps to growing their sustainability? Does it all start with a diagnostic and really looking at what they're doing currently, or can they be inspired by case studies? What would be the first step for them?
Do you know what I'd do? I'd go on the Green Street website, and what we've done, we've split it into kind of 6 sections. And the first one is kind of save energy, switch to renewables. And it gives you just about 8 things just to check that you could just go and do immediately. And I'd kind of work through those pretty simple things. Yeah, definitely. So take some advice. I wouldn't necessarily, there's lots of diagnostics out there. They can be quite scary. They can talk about net zero. And I think businesses get stuck in that. What we're saying is, don't necessarily worry about net zero and the thing. Just kind of, you can record where you are, because anyway, you can go back to your bills and see your energy and stuff consumption if you want to thing. But just kind of get going. You're not going to do anything wrong. And it's just
steps better than no step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those little steps actually add up to make big steps.
Mm-hmm. Circular economy, net zero, they can seem like quite big topics. So I fully support that. I think breaking it down to looking at your own business and just seeing what it means to you, really. And I know that York and North Yorkshire LEP have some brilliant free guides to download on their website as well, all aimed at businesses with different case studies about how they can do so. Those trusted resources like Green Street and the Growth Hub website are really important for small businesses, because, as you say, there are companies out there all offering different types of advice. So we'd say definitely go to trusted sources for that. Now, tell me a little bit about your former family business, Keelan Farm Shop. You've been a bit of a flagship, really, for green businesses here in Yorkshire and expanded rapidly. What's your advice to other businesses on our high streets who are really inspired by that? You've expanded into different markets and all with sustainability in the background. How would businesses emulate that and grow their businesses?
I would say the growth from Keelan came a lot through, we always really focused on our customer massively, and how could we make it easier for them to shop? How could we make it easier for our customers to buy great tasting food? How could we give them the confidence that when they came into that shop, they knew it was going to taste good, whatever it was? Because one of our core values was we only sell food that tastes great, kind of thing. So,
and it does. I can vouch for that. I've been to the farm shop.
It was always a fun bit doing the tastings, but having great chefs and stuff. So I think as a company, just know what you stand for, those values. And that then really enables you to grow, because you can get really stuck at 2 million. And I think beyond that, you have to start putting in managers and structure. You can't do it all yourselves, or like James and I couldn't do it. And then you get through that frustrating bit. You're like, well, why don't they get it? It's obvious. But it isn't like through osmosis, that structure that you've got in your brain is going to be communicated to your team. And I think that's where we found sort of writing it down, almost like a legacy for Keelan, what it stood for and our values, and then using that so the team embraced it. And you're like, it's almost like a framework. So you think, well, okay, as long as they're delivering that, following that, they're doing the right thing. And then you don't need a rule book for everything. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of empowering.
It's more of a philosophy that weaves through everything in the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it kind of people then embrace it and like to be part of that.
And I guess that's in parallel also with circular thinking and sustainability. So that absolutely makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think at Keelan, we were kind of really leading. So we did things like thinking about, what a problem our customers had. They like to grow veg, and we sell tomato plants and veg plants and compost and stuff. But if you've ever grown stuff, you get those gluts, don't you? And the person down the pub, you can't give away the cabbages. But we really wanted to support local grown produce and as much as we could. So we said, actually, bring it back to us. So we created the Veg Exchange Scheme where customers brought their products, the stuff they've grown. We gave them vouchers to spend in the shop, and then other customers bought the cabbages. And it's those kind of innovations and that came from thinking of a customer problem, not a problem we had, but our customers.
So a relentless focus on the customer and on those values at the same time. Yes. And that's what's driven the growth.
And making it really easy for your customers to kind of do things that they want to do. So I called it Keelam Easy Altruism. Because you knew by shopping there, you were doing really good because you were supporting, local producers, you were supporting the community because we did lots of stuff around that, but also you were kind of, at the same time, enjoying fantastic tasting food. It was kind of the win-win.
It's a win-win, yes. And that's what everyone's looking for with sustainability, isn't it? A win-win?
Absolutely. And I do think sustainability can deliver that because circular economy, all this resource efficiency, isn't it? It's just keeping using things and, being innovative about that. It's like my parents-in-law, they're in their late 80s now, and they still mend things and darn things, throw nothing away. They're kind of making weird compost concoctions for the veg they're growing out of stuff. And they've just done that forever. And I think it's that kind of mentality that we need to go back to.
And I think it's absolutely fitting in Yorkshire as well. It's that Yorkshire mentality. It is a really exciting time for us here in the region as we see a devolution deal come here with York as a global city at the heart of it and this rural powerhouse. What do you particularly love about the business community here? And I suppose the question really is, can we lead the green revolution in the UK from Yorkshire?
100%. We lead everything else, don't we? So why not green? Well, we've got it all, haven't we? We've got the wind, we've got the land, we've got the innovation, we've got the entrepreneurship, and I think it's a great combination. And yes, 100%. And you see that, don't you? You must see that as well, kind of things that you're doing, the businesses that are popping up. And a desire to do it as well. And yeah, like you say, it's our DNA. We don't like to waste a penny, do we, kind of thing. I remember my granddad used to walk around with bailing band for his belt on his coat on the farm and things.
Mine too.
Yes.
Just coming back to high streets for a moment, car-free and 15-minute cities are often in the headlines now. Do you think that is on the horizon for cities like Bradford and York? Where are we on that green journey within our cities? It's obviously a really exciting pilot you're doing, but when do we get that mass feeling that we're contributing well to net zero in our cities, and where do we need to be to do that?
Yes, probably not my specialist subject. However, I know Bradford's doing a clean air zone, which is good. I think the more clean transport and stuff we can use is good. I think city centres becoming not kind of motorways, things going through, but leisure destinations where people can go and enjoy time and walk, and you've got greenery and they're an environment you want to be, is definitely a step in the right direction.
I think we're all moving forward on that journey together, so that's true. Thanks so much for your insight. It's been really interesting, and you've given away lots of secrets to success, hopefully, that will inspire our listeners. I'll just finish by asking you one more question. What is your top tip, your number one top tip as a business leader to share with our listeners?
I would say that relentless focus on the customer, definitely, and how you can help them be more sustainable themselves. And I think that's a real trick for high street businesses where actually we have that interface with millions of people across the UK every day. And if those businesses aren't delivering the products, to help customers be more sustainable, we're not just going to get there as a nation. And I think as a business, just think how you can make it easy for your customers to live more sustainable lives. And then it'll just flow from there. And, but shout about it. I think be more boastful. Be boastful. We don't tend to do that in Yorkshire. We tend to sort of hide our light and rebuttal a bit, but we need to step up there and, boast about the great things that we're doing as small businesses.
I think small business owners really feel that they don't want to put their head above the parapet because they've got sometimes that little bit of imposter syndrome, or they don't want to be seen that they're really promoting themselves. But we really do need to do that and encourage our small businesses to do that, don't we? So that we can take our place as York and North Yorkshire, but also as really an entrepreneurial region. But the businesses have to say that.
They do, and customers forget it or they don't know it. We kind of think because we know it sometimes, we forget that other people might not know it. And you have to keep on saying it as well, because you get new people in through the door. So it might be a little weak campaign you've done, but it still needs to be, keep on saying it as well.
There's tremendous social value in small businesses. We know that they're at the heart of their communities and they deliver time and time again for them. Do you think that's sometimes underestimated with small businesses as opposed to larger businesses?
Absolute 100%. I can be sat in meetings and you look at the employment stats of the large businesses and things, but actually you look at the interactions that those small businesses still have in that community, and the diversity. And I just think, things grow from small acorns as well, don't they? Yes, so definitely, I think small businesses are absolutely fundamental to the UK DNA, to sort of the business landscape, and we need to do everything we can to encourage them.
Brilliant. Follow us at FSB North Yorks across our social channels for more business support from your local FSB team and signposting to our wide range of partners, including funded support programmes and free one-to-one local business advisor support across York and North Yorkshire.
FSB. FSB.